So we've gone through a couple of the disclosures. We're not quite done. We're right at the formal disclosures, right? We mentioned the outline of coverage, the buyer's guide. We discussed the fact that it had to be presented before I give you the application. If you got it through like an online kind of resource and you didn't request it up front, then the insurer has to deliver it to you by the time they deliver the policy. So before you received your approved policy, you need that outline of coverage and that buyer's guide, right? So let's go ahead and let's talk about in that buyer's. Let's talk about let's talk about policy standards, okay? So you're getting let's just do it from the standpoint of you just purchased your policy online, right? You purchased your policy online, which meant that you didn't get your outline of coverage and you didn't get your buyer's guide until you received your policy. That doesn't really give you a lot of time to go ahead and review that policy, right? Don't worry about it. Free look, woo! Free look. Check it out on iFlash, free look. It's not that kind of free look. This isn't one of those OnlyFans sites. This is an insurance licensing class, all right? What the free look means is that you get 30 days. 30 days. To do what? To get a free look at your policy. Make sure that everything that you believe to be true is actually true. Are all the promises that I made, are there anything that the insurance company didn't quite disclose to you? Okay, so in that free look, by the way, we are in chapter 29.5.3, policy standards on page 524, okay? I needed that from me, by the way. So, all right, so that's that free look. You can bring it back for whatever reason. It doesn't matter if there was nothing wrong with it. For whatever reason, that first 30 days is a free look, okay? Boom. Unconditional money back guarantee. They can't keep your premium, nothing. Free look. Now, the other policy standard is going to pertain to your pre-existing conditions, okay? That's something that, if you were diagnosed with cancer before in the past, if asthma, things along those lines, something that you have. This is a condition that has already existed, okay? Well, there's standards here. Now, and when I mean it already existed, it means that treatment had been provided for that ailment or issue. However, when it comes to long-term care, according to the National Association of Insurance and Financial Advisors, the word pre-existing condition pertains to a condition for which medical advice or treatment was recommended or received within 6 months preceding the effective date of coverage. So when it comes to you buying long-term care insurance, your pre-existing condition is really only it's a 6-month window that they can judge you on. Now, this doesn't prohibit the insurer from having access to your entire medical history. It just means that when it comes to a pre-existing condition, they're not going to be able to exclude any of those issues or ailments that you had from the policy. So that's a huge bonus there, okay? So the fact that they can go ahead and look back into your history, like I said, that doesn't matter, because if you hadn't received treatment in the last 6 months, they can't hold it against you. Now, on the exclusion side of it, I think it's worth us taking just a moment on the exclusion side, because we cannot exclude coverage for loss or confinement that resulted from a pre-existing condition unless, so in other words, the only way they can exclude you needing nursing care or long-term care help is if your issue starts within 6 months. 6 months of you signing that policy. So you see how easy that is, right? In reference to what's considered a pre-existing condition, if you hadn't received treatment for it in 6 months, it's not a pre-existing condition. Do they have the right to identify your long-term health care history? Yes, they do, but they can't use it against you in your underwriting. And nor can they exclude in any way, not through a rider, attachment, or anything. They cannot exclude that pre-existing condition unless you have an issue arise within 6 months. Because then that kind of brings us back to that adverse selection, right? What did that mean? Adverse selection is basically that principle where somebody who needs healthcare is more likely to look for healthcare, right? Healthy people aren't looking for healthcare. Somebody who, has a couple of issues on the horizon, they're starting to look for healthcare. And that's what that exclusion, that 6-month exclusion is, because that person may have known. All right, well, we're not giving them an unlimited kind of buffer here. You get away with it for 6 months, I got you covered. So policy standards. Free look means you get the right to take a look at your policy for the next 30 days. And pre-existing condition. Doesn't matter if you were diagnosed a long time ago for something. If it hasn't been cared for by a physician in the last 6 months, your long-term care provider can't use it against you in underwriting. All right? Now, we're going to flash back, because I was on page 524. We're going to flash back to 521 and jump into some marketing and advertising. Wicked, 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 wicked. I love me some marketing and advertising. Why? Show me the money. Because if I didn't want the money, honey, I would have did some philanthropy nonsense. I've been in there just like helping people fill out paperwork or something. Not that I have a problem with you people who help people fill out paperwork, but if you're doing it for free, I think it's kind of weird. But look. Don't judge me, all right? Because you are trying to be where I am right now. Right? What do you think about that, right? Are we going to edit any of the philanthropy statements? I don't want anybody to think that I'm, it's it's a little coin-operated time. Where's my Beat Everyone hat? That's the next segment, segment 3. I'm rocking my Beat Everyone hat. And then... Insert that here. All right, so... Oh, where did I go? 521. That's where I'm marketing and advertising. All right. So the commission adopted rules towards marketing and advertising. Yo, David, who is the commission? Don't answer that out loud. That's just where I want my question bubble to pop up. All right. Who is the commission? Well, remember, commissions have commissioners. Mr. Gordon. Anyway, what are they for? Basically, these rules and standards, unfair, deceptive marketing strategies. Off the top of my head, what's the easiest one? Well, okay, we used to sell timeshare, right? And so in that timeshare presentation, man, we're selling all kinds of negatives as positives. Like, for instance, oh yeah, you could come down during NASCAR week. Daytona 500, no problem. I mean, you could. If you booked your vacation like 3 years ago, okay? I can't sell you that perk. You can't get to it. Marketing and advertising when it comes to the insurance business is kind of like that. I've got to be transparent. I got to be trustworthy. I can't sell you, I can't spin a positive into a negative when it comes to the business of insurance. That's just wrong, man. I'm trying to help you prepare, a long-term care plan. This is quality of life, long-term care. So anyway, in case you guys haven't figured it out, because I'm waiting to see what, I can't see the text bubbles coming in, but who is the commission? It's the Office of Insurance Regulation. Office of Insurance Regulations has commissioners. Why? Is this an easy one to talk about here? Because everything that we're discussing when it talks about disclosures, remember what we said when the buyer's guide came through? This is a requirement. It was something that we had to present to the client prior to getting the application. When in reference to the outline of coverage, all these things were basically upon delivery. So as we're going through the presentation, we're literally giving our customers something. We call it the FOSA file, right? So if I'm delivering you information about your policy and I'm FOSA, that would mean that you would be able to identify where it is I lied in these buyer's guide, the summary, and all these other consumer resources, right? So in that, the process that's been put together is that the Office of Insurance Regulation is the one who actually governs our advertising on this topic. So insurers, when they have a new authorized product in Florida, they submit their marketing plan to the OIR, and we are actually able to go ahead, the insurer, is able to immediately push that marketing out to the public, okay? Now, If there is an issue with the marketing, the OIR is going to notify the insurer. The insurer's got to stop immediately with that one form of marketing and put in a correction. Okay, when they put that correction in, they got to wait a little bit to make sure the correction is right. But just remember that it's the advertising and marketing standards that go to insurers. That's with the Office of Insurance Regulations. You know, they have a commissioner at the head of it, and it was the National Association of Insurance Commissioners in 2001 who came up with that buyer's guide and some of these standards, right? So, now, if that policy is not qualified as a long-term care policy, then the statement, the buyer's guide, basically, and your marketing, at this point I'm in marketing, it needs to have a not qualified statement, and I'm going to have to read this, right, because it's like legal stuff here. This long-term care insurance policy is not intended to be a qualified long-term care insurance contract. You need to be aware that benefits received under this policy may create unintended adverse income tax consequences to you. You may want to consult with a knowledgeable individual about such potential tax consequences. Okay, that brings us to a little foreshadowing here, is that long-term care probably has some tax benefits associated with it, right? But in reference to what this advertising and marketing is going to do, there's a lot of products out there, a lot of services out there. Not everything is considered a policy, okay? And just so you know, when we came through here, if you're following along in the book, it talks about your policy or your certificate. Yo, David, what is the difference between a policy and a certificate? Certificates are issued to group people. Policies are issued to individuals. Bam. Should be a text box there. I don't know. I'm just either that or I'm just yelling at the millennial because I think he's hard of hearing or something, because I'm sure some of you guys got millennials floating around. You millennials, by the way, I'm not talking about you. Let's see. Difference between 1148. What does that mean? See, I'm reading millennial hieroglyphics now. Does that mean wrap it up, B?
No.
No? Okay. Well, I don't have to. Remember, long-term care, marketing, standards. I can't be deceptive in any way. We're going to stick with this clarity. I'm going to jump into this, get a little bit more in-depth and touchy-feely with the topic when we jump into unfair practices, and we're going to flash back. But, you know, in a nutshell, marketing and advertising, guys, just be clear, just be accurate. Think about if you were talking to your mom or your grandma, right? Think about the fact that every one of us has to deal with this issue. I hope that you getting into the business of insurance means that you actually don't even have to deal with long-term care, because you're going to be able to be like me, and we're going to be able to tie our boats up, and we're going to be slinging whoops doo-doos into the water. Whoops. So, you know, remember that, guys. Like, this is about people's future, quality of life, golden years, retirement years. This is our downtime. How do you want to get down? So, now, just as a quick recap, remember that part 1, when we started jumping through chapter 21 for long-term care, that was all about the purpose, what it is, why it's there, and what type of places. What we just went through here is we went through a little bit of disclosures, what we're obligated to share with the marketplace, and how we're supposed to from a marketing standpoint. And we just got to be clear with it. We got to make sure that from the insurer standpoint, the insurer is putting their marketing and advertising and putting it into the state to be approved. So when you get it, you got to make sure that your message is in sync with the advertising that's been approved, because if you change that, you're an independent agent. You know, that's on you. And when we get back, in this next little part 3 section here, if I haven't missed anything, we're going to go over some required provisions, minimum standards, reflect on a little terminology, and then we're going to talk about the back half of this long-term care, like determining benefits. We're going to talk a little bit more about increasing benefits, level benefits. We're going to talk about replacing policies, which flashes back to a little suitability. And I'll be back. I shouldn't even talk about the I'll be back, right?